Hello, Tim from Fair Play now on the 7th of May 2023. So, just a little bit of news. Apparently the president of the Thomas Jefferson University over there in the States has been, well, at the very least reprimanded, and he's likely to lose his job simply because he liked a couple of tweets from, what's the guy's name? Alex Berenson, I think he is. Yeah, Alex Berenson, who, I don't know who the guy is, but he must be a right-wing commentator, and I think he's got views that you, if you're watching this channel, and me have as well. And this president of this university, which is obviously a very kind of left-wing organisation, a very woke organisation, has taken exception to the fact that this guy, this president, has even liked these tweets. That's all he did, but that was enough to get him cancelled, or, you know, probably going to lose his job. And we have to ask ourselves, how far are we going to let this go? You know, it's just, this kind of thing is just getting more and more insane, more and more extreme, and we really do need to start pushing it back against this kind of thing really hard, I feel. Now, I saw a very interesting speech by a guy called James Lindsay. Again, I've never seen the bloke before, don't know who he is. I think he must be some kind of professor or sort of something like that, but he was making a speech in the EU, and he was talking about how woke is Marxism adapted to attack the West. And I found it a very, very interesting video. It is on this platform, so I can leave a link to it in the description box and the comment section below. It's about a half-hour watch, but boy, does it kind of bring into sharp focus so many different things. So what this James Lindsay guy is saying is, well, he starts off by talking about Marxism, the way it originated, and as you know, it was very successful in kind of agrarian, agricultural, feudal societies like Russia and China, etc. It was very successful there, as we know, but not so successful in the West, in capitalist, industrialised countries like the UK, the US, and most of Western Europe. And what they came to realise is that Marx got one thing wrong, and that is that basically you can't rely on the working class to be the driver behind a socialist revolution, basically because they're too comfortable. This is what this guy is saying. It might not be quite such the case now in these times of the cost of living crisis, but as we know, over the many decades, the working classes have been relatively comfortable. It's just been possible for almost everybody, if you put in the hard work, to earn enough money to be able to go on a holiday once a year to Spain or whatever, to have a car even if it's an old one, and you're not going to be starving either, and you can provide for you and your family. So there just isn't enough anger and resentment there in the working classes in the West, in capitalist nations, to drive a communist revolution. So that's what this guy is saying. So what they've done is they've adapted that, and instead of putting kind of the working classes or the proletariat up there on that pedestal, that socialist pedestal, and everybody's got to kind of worship them and say how great they are, and if you do anything to not do that, to go against the proletariat, then you're classified as bourgeois and you're attacked for it. So kind of sounds a bit familiar, doesn't it? But not in that context anymore, but in other contexts. You know, we all know about the various groups of people who you need to put on a pedestal, and if you say anything at all against them, even if it's the most mild, the most logical, the most justified kind of criticism, boy, are you kind of sort of demonized and cancelled and everything. You know, it's the same kind of thing, but just been adapted. So instead of putting the working class on that pedestal, you put these other kind of minority groups on that pedestal instead, and you get to the point where you just can't say anything against them. And the reason why this has been done is to drive a Marxist revolution here in the West, and it's just been done very cleverly, very secretly, and instead of, as I say, having the working classes driving the revolution, you have the various minority groups who have got that kind of resentment and anger within them. It's all been a thing to readapt Marxism to take over the West, and unless we kind of wake up to the fact that this is really what is happening, you know, we're going to go down a very dark road indeed. And by the way, I shouldn't think many viewers of mine will be thinking this, but if you do think that communism and Marxism is a good thing, well, I'd point you to the fact that communism has been responsible for, they reckon, about 100 million deaths over the last 100 years. And I sincerely believe that the only reason why communism isn't seen as just as great an evil as fascism and Nazism is purely and simply because whereas those two things were on the wrong side, or the losing side of the Second World War, communism was on the winning side. And I believe that is the only reason why it's not seen as in, you know, just as bad a lie as those other things. But as far as I'm concerned, they're all exactly the same. They're all just as evil as each other, and we've got to be on the guard against this stuff. And yeah, like this guy says, this James Lindsay guy says, woke is just the latest kind of evolution of Marxism and Maoism and all that kind of thing. It's just, you know, it puts so many things into clear perspective as well. You know, all these weird things that you might have been wondering about. Well, again, as this bloke describes, because modern day Marxism or wokeness is, they're not concerned about the working classes because they're not going to be the driving force behind their revolution that they desire. Well, they don't have to pay any attention to the working class. So that explains a few weird things, kind of explains why modern socialists, including the UK Labour Party, explains why they just don't give a toss about the working classes anymore. You've got the likes of Keir Starmer saying, you know, he wants to sort of basically be in bed with the World Economic Forum and these sort of things, which you think these are sort of very wealthy, rich, industrialist entities. So why would the leader of the Labour Party be interested in that? Well, because they're now free of the shackles of having to serve the working classes. They're now free to kind of work with the corporations who they see as an opportunity to get what they desire, which is these sort of socialist goals. So that's very interesting. It also explains why the Conservative Party seems so woke and so into all of this kind of thing. You just think, well, you're supposed to be conservatives, and yet you're into all of this seemingly very left-wing stuff like wokeness. You know, why is that? Well, again, because we know that the Conservative Party is all about big corporations, and if big corporations are going to be aiding and abetting this woke revolution, well, you know, it kind of explains why the Conservatives are on board with this as well. And it also explains why the seemingly sort of very left-wing people and the very right-wing people just seem to be so close together now. You know, I never really understood it, but boy oh boy, when you watch this video, it really does bring it into sort of very, very sharp focus. So an absolutely fascinating one to watch. So I'm going to let you go and watch that in a minute. I thought I'd finish this pretty serious video so far with a couple of funny ones. So just a couple of memes or things I've seen on my Telegram groups today. The first one is there's a certain man in his 70s who's been on state benefits all of his life, and you'll be glad to know that he has finally, at long last, got himself a job. I'm sure you can guess who that is. And the final thing I'll leave you with is, well, just see if you can spot the mistake this young lady in these photos is making. So, you know, go on, have a little look and see if you can spot a mistake. This happened in a UK petrol station very recently by the looks of it. So yeah, that's a little bit crazy, isn't it? And just in case you don't know anything about cars at all, this young lady's trying to fill up a car with petrol, which happens to be a Tesla, and every Tesla is an electric car. So she's on a bit of a hiding to nothing with that one. So gonna leave it there. Take a look at that video. I think you'll find it fascinating, and links to it will be in the description box and the comment section below. And I'll be back soon. Tim from Fair Play Now. Thanks for watching.